They didn't want to kill her. They wanted to teach the galaxy what happens when a human begs 200 species packed the Grand Tribunal to watch Captain Alara Kane break a chamber built from Singularity stone gravity wells beneath the floor, a containment prism in the center, like a glass coffin. The council called it justice, but the truth, it was entertainment. They activated the harvest probes machines designed to translate pain into data, then broadcasted like a victory anthem. And Alara smiled. Not a scared smile, not a weak smile, a calm, quiet smile. Like she was the only one in the room who already knew the ending. Minute by minute, the probes dug deeper. The audience leaned closer. The Sovereign declared, "No species survives extraction." And that's when Alara finally spoke, softly, almost amused. "You're not executing me," she said. "You're giving me time." The chamber laughed. Then the screens flickered. Time stuttered. Temperature dropped. And right before her heart stopped, Alara whispered one last sentence that made every delegate's blood run cold. "If death is a door, you just handed me the key." Asterisk. They came to watch a human break. They left with their laws in pieces. I was there when it happened. I was the one who announced it. My name is Voraxel, High Arbiter of the Concordat, Keeper of Order across 7 spirals of the Orion Veil. I have signed more death warrants than your species has invented seasons. I have presided over the ending of Namestot, and yet on the day we executed Captain Alara Kane, I learned what fear truly tastes like. The Grand Tribunal Chamber was built to intimidate even the arrogant. Its walls were compressed, singularity stone black as swallowed light. 3 artificial gravity wells spun beneath the floor, folding the air into perfect stillness. Above the central dais hung the Concordat sigil, 9 arms clasping a star. 200 delegates filled the tears-mist body chimes worn, crystalline Ein Voda, and many others. Even an observer from the phase current attended, half in our reality and half elsewhere. They all came for a spectacle. "Bring in the specimen." I ordered. A containment prism rose on a column of light. Inside it floated a human female in gravity restraints, wrists spread, spine arched by invisible pressure, bruises marbled her skin. A thin line of dried blood traced the corner of her mouth. Captain Alara Kane, formerly of the Terran vessel Dawn Spear, captured while attempting to negotiate. She lifted her chin and met my gaze as if I were a minor inconvenience. Grand Sovereign Kethrine leaned forward, crest flaring. "So small," he hissed. "One heart." A mind trapped in linear time. A ripple of amusement passed through the delegates. Senses unfolded. The chamber's screens lit with the human's bio readout, a tidy grid of numbers ready to entertain her. Raised my hands for silence. "Esteemed members of the Concordat," I declared, "today we reaffirm the cosmic hierarchy." This human dared to claim equal standing. Her speeches spoke of rights. They offered peace as if peace were theirs to bargain with. My secondary throat sac pulsed with practiced disdain. They insisted humans possess qualities we lack: adaptation, resilience, nerve. The human smiled. Not wide, not manic, just calm. A curve of lips that said she had already seen the end of this story and was waiting for us to catch up. Chief Analyst Miratol slid forward on that. "Her neural lattice is dense," she murmured. "Emotional control unusually high." Security Commander Drakjung, plated in cobalt alloy, thumped the floor. "Enough, steady. Start the harvest." Our favorite punishment for upstarts. We did not simply kill. We extracted. We took pain, translated it into data, packaged it as proof of superiority. I leaned toward the prism. "Captain Alara Kane, you are convicted of destabilizing the natural order. Your death will be broadcast to Earth." Her eyes did not drop. "You talk a lot for someone hiding behind a chair," she said. The chamber gasped. No condemned being had ever addressed me so directly. My crest tightened, began panel's iris open. Filament probes emerged, glistening with adaptive alloy. The containment prism hummed as its field tightened. The first probe touched her sternum. Her muscles clenched. A sharp breath. Then astonishingly her heartbeat steadied. Miratol blinked. "Her stress response is muted." "Increase stimulus," I snapped. The probes brightened, singing in frequencies tuned to nerve endings. They harvested pain as neatly as a machine cut stone. The human laughed. Not a scream, not a plea, a laugh. "You don't understand," Alara said through clenched teeth. Still smiling. "Humans have been training for this since before we had spaceships." Kethrine rose, anger painting his scales red. Silence. Elara tipped her head. Just remember you chose this at that moment. Instruments caught a brief spike, anomaly in temporal coherence, like a ripple in a pond that had no wind. I ignored it. Minute after minute, the probes worked. ELARAS, skin split in delicate lines. Blood beaded and floated in tiny spheres inside the field. Her breath came faster. Her jaw trembled. She still did not beg that at last she whispered. Here's the funny part. June growled, uneasy. Stop speaking. ELARAS eyes glimmered. On Earth, pressure doesn't just crush. Sometimes it changes you. Catherine sneered. Primitive proverb. Ilara's smile sharpened. Nobody ever asks what happens if death changes you. The chamber temperature dropped. The delegates shifted. The phase current observer flashed a warning pulse. Continue, I ordered, though doubt crept into my bones. Termination must be verified. The probes flared to maximum. LRA arched, and a pure sustained note escaped her, like a singer holding a pitch that made the room vibrate. The screen stuttered. The gravity wells hiccup PED. Minute 40-4. Her heart stopped. A clean flatline. Every display. Silence poured into the chamber. Death confirmed, Miratal said. Voice thin. 44 minutes. Relief washed through the tears. Some delegates released victory pheromones. I straightened. Pride returning. Record the time, I announced. Let it be known humans die like any other. Disposal protocols. June asked. Atomize, I said. Scatter her across 8 systems. Disposal arms rose, humming with molecular disassembler as they reached for Ilara's body and stopped. Every light dimmed, then flared crimson. Every instrument screamed static. Miratol recoiled. Post-mortem activity. Her cells are still fluctuating. Ryan scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. Residual energy. Begin disassembly. The disassemblers touched ELARAS skin. They sparked. They shattered, spraying glittering fragments like broken stars. The containment prisms climbed into a keening whine. ELARAS corpse began to glow, not a faint bioluminescence. A sunrise. Light poured from cracks in her skin, golden white, and something beyond color. Her restraints soft and metal turning liquid, orbiting her in slow rings. June activated the emergency beacon. Evacuate. The doors sealed instead, locking with a sound like judgment. The gravity wells failed. Delegates lifted from their seats, limbs flailing. ELARA. Single quotes, eyes opened. They held Deptileas, a storm of galaxies behind a pair of pupils. She inhaled one vast breath that seemed to compress the light into her chest. Then she smiled, the same calm smile. 44 minutes, she said, voice resonant, as if spoken through the bones of the chamber. That's generous. You gave me time to listen. Catherine floated helplessly. Why you? Ilara looked at her hands, golden light writhing between her fingers. I understand what you did, and what it made. June's weapons unfolded from the walls, enough firepower to crater moons. Reticles snapped onto Ilara's chest. Lethal. Force authorized. Heel roared. The weapons fired. The beams stopped in mid. They curled into threads, softening, becoming loops of light that drifted toward Ilara. She plucked one like a string and braided it through her floating hair. Adorable, she said. My voice sac spasmed. This is a violation of natural law. Ilara turned her gaze on me, and suddenly I was small, not in body but in certainty. Natural law, she repeated. You built a throne on rules you never bothered to test. She gestured. Chimes Warren tried to flee, dissolving into mist. The mist froze, crystallizing into a sculpture that rang with a single terrified note. She gestured again. Keth. Ryon's scales flashed, then became literal metal, heavy and precious. His body dropped to the dais, unable to rise. Ilara floated closer, trailing motes like drifting pollen. You harvested suffering like it was entertainment, she said. So here's my counteroffer. The chambers, broken screens rebuilt themselves. They displayed conquered worlds, cities burning, species kneeling, children hiding. Every delegate felt it. As information as memory. Pain poured into us. Not ours, but borrowed. Stitched into our nerves with perfect accuracy. ICOM, VULSED. Around me. The council screamed. ELARA. Watch. Expressira expression almost tired. This is what you never understood about humans. she said softly. We don't only endure pain. We study it, we turn it into tools. Mirator babbled in panic. Your energy signature collapsing star levels, how Alara laughed once. It's not containment. It's permission. She spread her arms. Reality rippled. The walls became transparent. Beyond them waited the Concordat defense fleet, arranged in flawless formation. ELARA. Single quotes as light touched the fleet. Ships unmade themselves, without explosion. Their atoms unspooled, then rewove into seed ships, shelters, and medical bays, each designed for a species the Concordat had erased. Delegates watched their might turn into mercy. Catherine clawed at the dais. Stop, you'll collapse the order. Ilara's gaze flicked toward him. Order? You mean control? She lifted a finger. The sigil above the dais twisted into a new emblem, open hands releasing a star. The Concordat is over, she said. But you're not going to die. My insides turned to ice. You will spare us. I will keep you, Ilara corrected. You liked lessons, so you'll learn. The chamber rearranged itself. Weapons melted into instruments. Restraints unfurled into ribbons of light. The tiers became balconies draped in curtains made from condensed auroras. At stage formed where the dais had been, and we, High Arbiter, Sovereign, Scientist, Commander, were pulled into alignment like actors finding their marks. What is this? Drac June rasped. ELARA appeared beside him, now wearing a simple headset like a director. This is restitution, she said. She snapped her fingers, and scripts materialized in our hands, pages written in ink that flowed like time. You will perform, Ilara continued, voice carrying beyond the chamber. Not for me, for them. The transparent walls showed restored civilizations, gathering billions of eyes, lifted to watch the former conquerors stumble through the stories of their victims. Every performance will be a record, Ilara said. Every time you try to run, you'll remember why you shouldn't. Ilara raised her palm and the theater lights dimmed. Not electricity, causality. The chamber became a hush between heartbeats. First, she said, you will learn names. The scripts in our hands rewrote themselves. Lines appeared in tongues I had outlawed. The phonemes burned my mouth when I tried to read them. Mirator trembled. You're editing information across time. I'm returning it, Ilara corrected. She walked along the floating delegates as if strolling a garden path. With each step, she tapped a forehead, a carapace, a frill, and implanted a memory that did not belong there. Petra child hiding under a collapsed dome, a Vesper monk singing while soldiers dragged him away, an ocean world listening to its last whale song as the water boiled. The council screamed again, but this time the screams carried words, apologies, confessions, prayers to gods they did not believe in. I tried to shut my mind, but Ilara's light filled every corner. Drac June lunged, rage overcoming training. His grab boots fired, pushing him toward her like a launched shell. Ilara didn't move. Drac June froze mid-flight, suspended inches from her face. His own heartbeat became audible in the chamber, amplified until it sounded like a drum set. Ilara said, you will learn restraint. She flicked a finger. Drac June's armor unfolded into harmless petals of metal that drifted away. The lethal plating became a halo of tiny wind chimes. He choked. Kill me, no, Ilara said, gentle as a closing door. You'll live long enough to understand why you asked. Catherine snarled from the dais. This is tyranny in a prettier mask. Ilara turned, and for a moment the gold in her eyes darkened, showing the void behind the stars. Third, she said, you will learn choice. The chamber projected a map of the Concordat's Emperor trade routes, prisons, burn lines, every corridor of control. Ilara touched the map, and it split into thousands of branching paths, each one a possible future. You liked simple outcomes, she told us. Obey or die, kneel or burn. Humans don't work that way. She snapped her fingers, and the branches poured outward like a living river, rushing into space. Across the veil, alarms died midst. Prison doors unlocked on worlds I had never visited. War fleets spun down their engines and found themselves docking beside former enemies, unable to remember why they hated. On the far edge of the system, Ilara built a clock. It was the size of a moon, constructed from starlight and compressed regret. It counted upward, second by second, so no one could pretend the moment had not happened. This is not punishment for punishment's sake, she said. This is rehabilitation on a cosmic scale. And you, Consul, are going to do the hardest part. She pointed to the stage. You will stand under lights, Ilara said, and tell the truth. And we couldn't. I tried to speak. Words tangled in my throat sacs. Ilara leaned in, almost kindly. You're wondering if this is revenge? Yes, I croaked, isn't it? She looked past me, as if listening to something inside the dark between seconds. It started that way, she said. Then I listened to Death, and Death said something interesting. Her light softened. Everything is connected, she said. When you hurt others, you tear your own universe. I'm not here to punish forever, I'm here to stitch. The first performances were terrible. We forgot lines, we mispronounced names. We wept without knowing why. The audience did not cheer, they watched, they remembered, they healed. Time lost its sharp edges under Ilari's gaze. Centuries passed like pages, turning. And slowly, horrifyingly, we began to understand. 10,000 years after the day we killed Ilara Kane. I sat backstage, adjusting a costume stitched from starlight and regret. Pride had corroded into humility. Keth Ryan stood nearby. His metal scales now, polished. No longer a prison but a reminder. Do you remember? He asked quietly. When we thought humans were fragile. I swallowed. I remember when I thought I was a god. And now? He asked. Now, I said. I am an actor. The stage manager's voice rang through the theater. Where places, everyone. Ilara manifested on the catwalk above, clipboard in hand, her form a constellation of gold threads. She looked purposeful. Tonight's audience was different, not victims, not neighbors, civilizations. We had restored, now traded art and music across the veil. Children of species that had once hidden from us now laughed. Eager for the show, Ilara descended, boots touching the stage as if gravity were a suggestion. She glanced at me, eyes still, full of galaxies. Vorak, she said, using my name, not a title. He asked me once if I would ever forgive you. My throat tightened. I had asked, yes, after a performance that left me shaking in borrowed grief. Now she tilted her head. Do you know my answer? I forced myself to meet her gaze. No? She tapped her clipboard, playful. My answer is a question. The curtain stirred. The audience hushed. You've learned the stories, Ilara said. You've learned how to feel what you refuse to feel. She looked over the former council. You're free, Ilara announced. If you want to go back to governing, go. If you want to rebuild an empire, try it. I won't stop you. A murmur rippled through the theater. I felt the old instincts that control dominance, certainty, and I felt something stronger. Choice. I stepped forward, not as higher arbiter, as a performer. I lifted my script and faced the audience. The show, I said, must go on. One by one, every former delegate echoed it. A chorus of once proud throats, now speaking with something that sounded like hope. ELARAS. Laughter cascaded through the rafters. Warm and bright. There, she whispered, satisfied. That's the most human thing you've ever said. The curtain rose. And for the first time in my long, unwilling immortality, I understood the true terror of humanity. Not their rage, not their vengeance, their refusal to waste suffering, their ability to turn death into a door and then hold it open for everyone else.